Anthony, entrepreneurism. What does it mean to you?
I don't know.
All right.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Glenn Asman here with, you know what I'm talking about right now. Right over there, Mr. Anthony Melchiori. Anthony, another happy Thursday. Great to see you, man.
So what does entrepreneurship mean to me?
Yes.
Well, I tell people, you're an entrepreneur. Why entrepreneuring more? Entrepreneur to me means action.
Yeah.
Massive action.
Making things happen. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, right? We're talking to all these great people every single day on this show, hearing their stories, hearing about how they've made it through the crisis, what they're doing to go forward. But what about the whole idea about people starting businesses in earnest, particularly during this last year or so when everything was so confusing?
And before we even talk about what does that mean, what does entrepreneurship look like, right? When you see Elon Musk or you see all these people, right? The big personalities and a little bit out of their mind, or you see, like, even if you look at me, like I have a lot of energy, it's entrepreneurs come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. And some are quiet and they just go about their business and they build an empire that nobody knows about, whether they're buying Bitcoin or whether they're selling lemonade. Or entrepreneur could be a person that's very aggressive. An entrepreneur doesn't have to look like one thing. And I think people get the entrepreneurial kind of mindset or personality wrong. I think the mindset is massive action. Massive action doesn't have to be loud, and massive action doesn't have to be public. But taking massive actions to change your life to ensure that you're in control of your destiny. So entrepreneurship means massive action and controlling your destiny.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I think that's great. And, for me, the journey that I've been on, I think that sums it up perfectly. So I'm looking forward to talking to you a couple of entrepreneurs. We got one in the audience today, Ken Patel, who started EV Hotel Group. Man, Ken, you're doing a great job at least getting people to know who you are out there. It's been really impressive to watch that. So this should be fun. What do you think? We should get to it. What do you say?
And then one more thing I want to kind of mention, the naked cowboy in Times Square. He's an entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah, and speaking of you mentioned Elon Musk just a minute ago. The Las Vegas Convention Center loop, the underground tunnel built by Elon Musk's Boring Company, is ready to begin transporting customers. How cool is that, man?
And why aren't we the first ones?
A lot of poor decisions in life. That's why.
When are they starting to do that?
I think that the big cement show that's happening over there, concrete, sorry, I don't mean to offend people in the concrete industry. There's a big concrete conference coming. They're going to be the first ones to do it. But interestingly enough, they're not going to be fully automated cars. They're going to have people in there, I think, at the beginning just to make folks feel a little more comfortable.
Okay. I thought you meant like behind them pushing it.
No, they put in Teslas, not rickshaws.
Right. And just so you know, concrete is fine or cement is fine. But what that does mean is in Las Vegas, there's going to be a lot of Italians.
Right. Well, now that they're, now that they're not putting people out in the desert, there's not as high of a need.
Listen, my dad came to this country and he poured concrete. And I don't know an Italian that came to this country that didn't pour concrete.
Yep, that's right. Daniela Menachemson says that the Naked Cowboy is a brand. Daniela, you are absolutely right about that. When he popped onto our show last week when we were broadcasting live from the center of Times Square, it was so cool that he was talking to us about how he franchised the concept around the country. How creative is that?
Yeah, he's people make fun of him, but I think again, an entrepreneur is someone that takes control of their own destiny and doesn't look for other people to tell them what to do. You have advisors, you have consultants, you have mentors, you have bankers, you have managers. But at the end of the day, an entrepreneur, like even today, I was talking to some people on my team and like, hey, how about this and how about that? And like, I'm usually way ahead of everyone. And that's to me what an entrepreneur is. It's like when they're saying things to me, I've already made a decision and we're already moving forward on that. So you can't wait for people to tell you what to do when you're an entrepreneur. If somebody told, if Jeff Bezos was waiting for people to say, you got to sell more than books, Jeff Bezos would still be selling books.
Right. And now he sells absolutely everything. All right, let's get into our main conversation. First up, we're going to bring in Miss Christine Trippi. This is just a regular pineapple. Here's a wise pineapple. Christine Trippi and Calvin Tilokee of RevPar.
Hello.
How are you? Gravitate. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've got some, studio quality equipment here, so I figured I'd show it off.
Look at that. Well, I may have to pull you off air over here because you're looking too fun. You're making me feel a little insecure over here, Calvin.
Well, last time I was on the show, Anthony told me I looked like I was sitting in a bowl of urine, so I had to step it up.
Did I really?
Yeah, you did. You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong. It was very good.
Why did I say a bowl of urine? Why did I say that?
Because it was really yellow. I have yellow paint in my bedroom, and I was shooting out of my bedroom last time, and just the way everything was reflecting, you weren't wrong.
Did I really say that?
You did.
You know what's so funny? I watch my show from time to time. I'll throw it on, and I just to kind of just look, see, remind me of some things, and I'm like, I go, I said that? Some of the words that came out of my mouth, I can't believe I actually said. And I'm actually sitting there going, everybody's always said, we're surprised you not got punched in the face on the show. And I think some of the things I say, and I'm like, I'm surprised I didn't get punched in the face on the show either.
Well, I'm ready with the big one.
Yeah.
She was dying. Christine she was dying to show that. She's been sitting there waiting. When do I get to show my big thumbs up?
Well, that was my big punch.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about entrepreneurship. I'll let Glenn ask the first question.
Yeah, so let's just set this up now. Everybody in the chat room, and we are getting so many great responses today from people. It turns out people like you guys. They really want to hear your story. But for the few people that may not know exactly who you are, what you do, the businesses that you created, please give us very succinctly a little tease on what you do. Let's start with you, Christine.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for having me, boys. Love being here with you. I'm Christine Trippi, the Wise Pineapple. I've been in hospitality for 34 years. And just before COVID began, I launched my own company. And I help organizations and leaders to be confident, be empowered, and lead from the heart. And mostly I wrap my services up with speaking, training, coaching, and consulting hotels.
Excellent. And you can tell she's a pro because when I said succinct, she listened. I love it. Calvin, what about you, sir?
I'll do my best. I'm not that succinct, but I'll do my best. So my name is Calvin Tilokee, the creator of RevPar, hospitality memes on Instagram, and that has turned into RevPar Media, which is a social media management company. I call myself a digital storyteller. I found out throughout the course of the past year, I'm a storyteller, and that's inherently what I'm doing for companies to help share their stories digitally on social media.
Beautiful. Anthony, I'm very impressed. They actually listen there.
Well, yeah. Well, they can all talk a lot. I think they can both probably talk more than me. But Calvin, I got to tell you something. I look at RevPar problems and I laugh out loud. I mean, matter of fact, I'm trying to pull up. Glenn, can you pull up?
We got producer Suzanne.
Yeah, Suzanne, pull up his last RevPar problem thing on Instagram. Don't tell me what it is, but every time I look at it, it's so spot on. It is absolutely perfect. Again, it is very hotel-y. You have to be in the hotel business to get it. But if you are, it's it just clobbers you in the head. Even Glenn, I would imagine you look at it and you're like, oh, that's funny. But if you're in the hotel business, it's hysterical.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I've been around long enough to know that I can understand what these are all about. I am looking up some of these photos right now, so give me just a second, folks.
What happened to Suzanne? She got shot in the head?
No, she's laughing back there, but I don't know if she's gotten it together. Hold on, let's find out. Suzanne, are you looking these up, or should I do it? She's muted.
She's on mute. Where's David? Is David coming back?
Oh man.
Go ahead.
All right. So, Christine, let's just move it over to you. Interesting that you say, and we'll get those pictures up soon enough and have some laughs, maybe a little bit towards the back end of the show. I think would be a great time for that. But I want to learn right now. I want to learn from you, Christine. You're planning. What was that journey like for you to take that leap to say, I am actually going to do it? I'm going to leave the comforts of working for a mega billion-dollar corporation.
Well, it was excruciating. And, I can go on and on about how much I loved my job. I was with Marriott International. I was the senior manager of operations. I traveled across the country every week, supporting and helping my select service brands to achieve excellence. And I mean this with all my heart. If I was independently wealthy, you would not have to pay me to do what I do and did and do now. I loved my job. I worshiped my company, and I still do worship Marriott. They're just amazing. And so through all of that, my 34-year career, love what I get to do every day. And then being in that position, here's where it happened for me. Throughout probably starting the early 90s, I had wanted to create a book with my Yes is the Answer training. And through my own failures is how I came to this process to always say yes. And as I was crossing the country, sharing this and seeing not just my little hotels really digging it, but all of these hotels across the country, I'm like, I need to get this done. I need to do it. So I went and I published my book, Yes is the Answer. Now, what happened from there was I was getting all these requests from so many different people to speak at their conference or help their hotels. And of course, being the person I am, I really wanted to do that. So I began doing that a little bit in what I could do with Marriott and with their permission. And then as the requests kept getting more and more, I realized it's time to make a decision. The universe is calling. It's either stay and keep doing what you've been doing, or really put yourself out there and launch into your own deal. And your first question for Anthony in the very beginning, what is entrepreneurship for you? For me, it was getting to be able to serve any company instead of just one brand or one hotel company. I get to serve L'Auberge in Sedona and Kimpton in North Carolina and all of these different hotels and brands and people and also salons and real estate and insurance and hospitals. So that to me is what entrepreneurship is. So when it became that road hits the metal, I said, okay, I needed to make the decision to jump or to not.
So the most important question is, when you sleep, do you actually close your eyes and lay down, or like you just like tell me what it looks like when you're kind of relaxed? What does that look like?
Have you ever seen a 3-year-old sleeping?
Yes.
All over the bed.
Okay.
Like they just do that full 360.
Okay.
I don't think Christine sleeps. I think she's plugged in.
Right. No, that was good. But I think that when you get, like you say, you have 5 brothers and sisters. When you get together with your family, are you are you kind of the outlier, or are you like one of 5 people bouncing off the walls?
I am probably the bounciest.
Okay.
But we're Italian like you, Anthony, and we're all loud and obnoxious, and there's a lot of swear words flying.
Okay. All right. Just so I get that.
Yeah.
So Calvin, why don't we go to you and try not to beat her energy. Try to at least stay at her energy.
There's no way I could do that. I've never been that excited by anything.
Dude. Yeah. One of the things that I always get, people claim that I have a lot of energy. So I get accused of having a rabid Coke problem. So I'm wondering if maybe Christine gets the same type of comment.
It's all the years I get that all the time, that Glenn has so much energy, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. Like, he doesn't have no energy, but he's not I don't think of you as a high energy person.
Oh,
No,
I
right.
do.
Right.
And I have to tell you guys that just this week, I signed a contract with a company, Solera Hospitality out in the South. And he says, you're going to be my line of cocaine for my GMs.
I'm sorry, Christine. We were talking about Glenn, but thank you for making it about you.
How dare a guest come on the show and talk about herself? All right. Calvin, I'm sorry you have to complete with this mess that we're doing for you.
No problem.
Tell us
No
a little bit
problem.
about what your journey was like and what made you choose to move in this direction. And I'm
Yeah,
going to
absolutely.
try to hear you instead of being overcome with jealousy over the image quality that you have there.
Don't worry, I'll give you all the information backstage when we're done. No problem. But yeah, my journey has been, I spent 20 years in hospitality. I went to school for hospitality. I love the industry, and most of my time was spent in revenue, obviously. And towards the tail end, I started my page, and I realized I had an abundance of creativity. When I started out, I really didn't think I could make one every day. And I was able to, and then I challenged myself twice a day. And I figured, a year from now, you're going to run out of ideas. Like how many jokes can you make about revenue or hotels? And I haven't. It's been about 4 years, and I haven't run out of ideas yet. So I realized that was my skill set. I was able to just be able to take situations and create these memes. And for the past, I would say the last 2 years or so of my career, I had some clients on the side that I was helping with social media, and I was furloughed and laid off, with COVID. But my long-term goal was to do what I'm doing now, and that just pretty much accelerated it. It was like I had a choice. I could either, go back and try to fight an uphill battle at that point with nobody hiring, everybody still being laid off, or I can just kick this into high gear and just go for mine, which is what I decided to do. And looking back, it's a blessing. It gave me the time to be able to get everything done, to set up an LLC and redo my website, and just really just be in a creative space. I mean, it started out as just social media management. I've since started a podcast. I've rebranded my travel page. And as I said, throughout doing all of these things, I realized what's at the core of everything I do is just telling stories. I come from a long line of people, family members, grandparents, and uncles that will tell some wild stories. And I guess I picked up that same trait. And, at the end of the day, what it is, like I said at the beginning, just kind of figuring out each individual business and what story you're trying to tell, who you're trying to reach. Every hotel, every business is unique. As I said on the show earlier, it was, I don't care if you're an airport hotel, what makes each place unique is the people that are there. Everybody has a story. There's something special about your hotel. I don't care how basic you think it is. And it's how do we put that out there, and how do you connect with your guests and your audience on social media? Because that's where your guest journey starts now.
So what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
I'm very much in agreement with what you said at the top. It's up to you. It's all on you. And I think that was the first lesson I had to learn, as being an employee for 20 plus years. There's things are set up for you. There's procedures and things that are in place. When it's your shop, you've got to do all that for yourself. And, sure, I could sleep in until 10, 11 a.m. I'm not saying I didn't do it in the beginning, but then that's my time I'm wasting, right? So and all the ideas, all the different things that come through my mind is, am I going to execute, or is it just going to be an idea that didn't happen? It's not like having a job where you can go to your boss and say, here's what I think we should do, and just kind of let it go, and then maybe that gets executed. It's on you.
Somebody texted me, I think this morning or yesterday, saying, "Are you up yet?" It was 8:05, and I'm like, am I up yet?
Yeah.
It's 8:05 in the morning. Am I up yet?
Yeah.
So what I want to do, Calvin, is I want to show Suzanne, our producer, will show some of your Instagram. I think she will.
I will. I got it covered. Right. I got it.
Manager in the back office versus dealing with the guests. Yeah, that's the manager in the back office. But go to the other ones. Go to the other ones. The other ones are a little bit more. Okay, go to the next one. The next one's my favorite. Okay. Revenue, corporate sales manager overlooking revenue's shoulder. And it's a lead from group sales. It's like corporate sales manager going, what are we doing? What are we doing? For people who don't understand, in the hotel business, there's dynamics, like very significant dynamics, no matter where you go, no matter what department. So if you go into the corporate sales office, them in revenue management, they're literally at each other's throats all the time, unless they really like each other and they develop the relationship. The general manager and the revenue manager, right? Some days they love each other, some days they hate each other. Housekeeping and the front desk. Some days they love each other, some days they hate each other. They'll get this. You may not get this, Glenn. If I say 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the pickups weren't done and the guest gets checked into a dirty room, whose fault is that? Well, the front desk is going to yell housekeeping, housekeeping going to yell at the front desk.
That's
So
right.
so the memes really hit it. What was one of your favorites, Calvin?
Well, hold on one second. I love the detail he put into this. On Beyonce's hat there, it says,
Yeah.
What does it say? I don't see what it says. What does it say?
on her hat.
That's my little logo. You know,
Oh.
in case things get stolen. At least people know who made it.
I guess it's timely for the people who can't see this or listening on podcast. There's a meme of a guest showing up with a vaccine, very excited with a vaccine drug, very excited.
Yeah, just slap it in your face. Bam.
Oh my God.
This one is great, but yeah, you need the sound. He's screaming, "It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed."
And the headline is "When there's no more connecting rooms."
And what is he saying? What is he saying?
It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed.
Let me see if I can get the sound going.
It's not guaranteed. So it's not guaranteed.
No, you have to do one, Calvin. You have to do one with what's the difference between a connecting room and an adjoining room?
Oh, yeah. I've done that. I think I used like Webster's dictionary and I just said connecting, adjoining.
So just so you know, on like a Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, people come in and say, well, I wanted connecting rooms. We said, no, we told you we don't have connecting rooms. We have adjoining rooms. Right. They're connecting. No, they're adjoining. But
Right.
yeah, that's fine. I understand. But you have the door between the rooms, right? No, that would be connecting. They're adjoining. They're next to each other. It's like,
Right.
So that's good. Go to the dictionary and understand the difference. But that is something that is my friend. Also, you know what you have to do, Calvin? You have to do the day of arrival for the day before Thanksgiving, when all the families are coming in, right? And you've got to show like cats scurrying for like cribs and like rollaways. Because the day before Thanksgiving, you're doing a stand-up and they're like, hey, we have 54 requests for rollaways.
Yep.
We only have 3. And I'm like, well, can you rent them? Well, they're all sold out. It's like, when did we get the memo that Thanksgiving was this Thursday? Like,
Right.
Like you knew Thanksgiving, since you're born, when it is. So why don't we have rollaways, right? I mean, how many times have you been through that exercise?
That
For
actually
our international audience, it would be the 4th Thursday of November.
that actually happened once. We were in an EC meeting and my director of housekeeping dropped the ball on something. And she said, well, because Thanksgiving fell on Thursday this year, my GM was like, are you serious? Nobody could keep a straight face. I'm like, wow, of all the excuses I've ever heard, that has got to be the worst.
You know what's so funny? Because the more I think about your website, the more I think of like all the things that as hoteliers that happen, but it happens all the time. It happens every year.
Exactly.
Every year we're in that meeting, and every year it's like, you order the rollaways. And then when they do, like the person's been with you 3 years, like, I ordered all the rollaways. They want a gold star. I'm like, well, good. We have 53 requests. And then they'll order 53. I said, how about if a guest forgets to order a rollaway and we need 54?
All right, so let's get back to the entrepreneurial.
Well, it is being an entrepreneur getting rollaways.
Right. So yes, a good entrepreneur would figure out how to get it done. Maybe even start up a company that rents beds to hotels out there. But Christine, let's get back to you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that confidence issues that you may or may not have had, and how you managed to be able to go through them. Because I remember before starting my business over 5 years ago, it really took me a year of planning, confidence gaining, and bargaining with family members so they would understand the confidence that I had in pursuing. Well, tell us a little bit about
In other words, his wife.
No. In other words, my mom.
Oh. That's so funny that a 40-something-year-old man's got to get his mother's permission to open a business.
Well, it's better to have everybody on your side than working against you. So when you make a major life decision, you got to get group consensus.
Glenn, if no one knew you were a Jewish kid, an only child from Long Island, you telling that story that you needed your mother's permission at 40-something years old tells everyone you're a Jewish kid from Long Island.
Well, first of all, I prefer to be called a singleton and not an only child. So I'm a little bit offended over here.
Okay.
Or you could be Italian, because I was going to say, well, I know that my son is going to consult me on every decision the rest of his life.
Well, I want everybody to tune into yesterday's show with Paul Leone, the incredible GM of the Breakers, where we get down to the major issue of Long Island Jews and Italians being exactly the same except for the Jesus factor. So tune into that show yesterday.
And I did the opposite. I always made sure everything was working before I told anybody what I was doing. I still do it to this day. Like, I make sure everything is kind of done. Like, I remember when I did Hotel Impossible, 99.99999% of people in the world had no idea I was doing Hotel Impossible.
Wow.
And literally no one, and except maybe 4 people. And when all of a sudden it happened, I was all over the commercial. People were like, what? And I'm like, I wasn't telling anybody until I knew I was, picked up. So yeah, I have a different strategy. I tell no one anything. And I actually say that to people all the time, because what happens when you tell somebody your dreams? Calvin, you start telling people your dreams, people, their first reaction is, there's one that they're jealous, so they don't want you to be successful, but they're pretending they want you to be successful, but they're giving you reasons why you shouldn't do it. And then there's the other person that worries about you, and it's like, hey, you're taking a big risk here. What are you doing?
We got to get to Christine and get her answer. But Anthony, you talk about 99.999.
Did you cut me off?
I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to. I thought you were finishing up. But it's that kind of show. Speaking about people not knowing about stuff, and I did this book with where I did this book with Sean Workler over here. Nobody knew about that.
I love the fact that you literally cut me off in the middle of a sentence to say we got to get to Christine, and then you plug your book.
Let me tell you something. The pendulum is swinging the other way. You're like, dude, you're not doing it enough. Now I've gone totally off the rails in the other direction. Christine, take it away. I'm going to shut up.
You guys are so hilarious. I love being here with you and your energy. I wish I was on the show yesterday, because I have a lot to contribute about the Jew-Italian combo here. A lot to share. Now, as far as dealing with the fear, any of you out there that, especially with everything we've been through in the last year, if you're thinking about making that leap, here are 3 questions that I asked myself that really led me to go, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. One is, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? If you knew that you wouldn't get paid, what would you do? And what makes you come alive? Those 3 things. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do if you didn't get paid? And what makes you come alive? And for me, it was a yes, yes, yes for all 3 of those, for launching into doing this and being able to serve every brand. And then I just said to myself, I love this strategy. Here's another great strategy for anyone listening, is the if-then strategy. Immediately you think of a great idea and you're like, yes. And then all the shit comes. Oh, am I allowed to say that?
Yes, well, it's too late now. You said it.
Live TV, Christine.
Yes. All the stuff comes into your head about
seriously,
you can't do it, or why you can't do it, or all the doubts, or all the negatives. What I want you to do is I want you to write down if-then. If, for example, with my book, if I make a typo in my book, then I will just re-edit it, and all the future books will come out corrected. Okay, that's not that scary. That was what scared me the most. If I get trolled online because they don't like my book, then I'll say, thank you for your feedback, and read one that loved me. Mm-hmm. So when you put those if-then scenarios down on paper, you go, you know what? I can freaking do this. This isn't that scary. And it helps you to prepare, just like when you're preparing for a group or a wedding or whatever it is in your hotel. You're preparing yourself for what those ifs or thens are and how you're going to then respond.
Yeah, and I think that's really well said. I'm glad you gave actionable items, because in entrepreneur, it's not just about enthusiasm and being passionate about something. It's actionable items. One of the things I tell people is, when you jump off the cliff, right, you have to make sure you have a parachute. So I'm going to ask Calvin this question, and then Christine, you can follow up, and then Glenn can follow up. I felt that was very important that I had health benefits and I had money in the bank before I jumped off my cliff. Jumping off the cliff into Hotel Impossible was not only scary that my whole career, people were going to make fun that I have a reality show, because back then it was all stupid reality shows, and it wasn't seen as something a little bit more than just, whatever reality show you want to talk about back then. But to me, that was scary, losing my reputation. But what scared me more is not having health insurance or money in the bank in case it doesn't work. And that's really what I want people to understand. You can go through all the things that you just said, Christine. You can say all of that. You can be passionate. But at the end of the day, you've got to be realistic. And what does realistic look like? Realistic looks like 6 months from now, you need money to eat. What are you going to do if it fails? Because you don't want to go backwards. I gave myself 2 years, and I literally was running out of money a week before I got the green light. So, and it was getting real scary. But 2 years, I thought that would be enough money to be okay and not change my lifestyle. And still, my wife had health benefits, and we had money in the bank, but still, I was running out of money. So that was really how I started to jump off the cliff, is that I felt safe. Calvin, talk to me about that. How did you set yourself up to make sure that basically, as Maslow hierarchy of needs say, that you have to take care of your safety and security first? How do you get over that? What were your steps?
Well, it is scary. I was fortunate enough to have put some money aside. I did get a small severance after being laid off. So that was what I used to just kind of, that was my pillow, right there. That was my little safety net. And as far as getting started, initially, people who do what I do will at most manage 5 brands. Right. That they say that's about as much as any one human being can do effectively. I was doing up to 9 or 10 at one point, including all of my own plus my clients, because I was not at a point where I could outsource any of this. There are some people you can reach out to, freelancers that may, I create, but they publish for me. I wasn't at a point to do that. And I knew I had to get to a place financially before I could take that step. So, talking about getting up. I'll be honest, in the beginning, I was rolling out of bed at 10 a.m. And now looking back at it, why? Because I didn't value what I was doing yet. I wasn't taking myself seriously. So how could my clients, how could any prospects, right? So eventually it was switching that mindset of, from employee to entrepreneur and saying, if this has got to get done, you got to get up. And sometimes just out of straight anxiety, I'm up at 4 a.m. So I start working.
What was the moment? What was the catalyst that got you to realize I'm not an employee, I'm an entrepreneur? There was something that happened either with a client or something that you failed at that was the catalyst. What was it?
I don't know if there's any one thing that jumps to mind, but there was a time frame where I was targeting clients that weren't able to pay what I was charging. And I think subconsciously I knew that. I was selling myself short, and I was going after people that wouldn't do it. Almost to kind of reinforce the fact that, I'm not ready, I'm not doing this. And after some frustration of doing it, because it's weird, because the other side of your brain tells you are good enough. This is why you started this business. And then eventually you hit enough of those obstacles, and it's like, you know what? You're too good to be dealing with this. Go after bigger fish.
Right.
And it I don't know when it happened, but it finally, like, something smacked me, and I said, you know what? I'm too good to be wasting my time on these things. I'm going after bigger fish. I can do this. And I just kind of fell back on everything. I think what you've got to do is look back at all the things that you've done well, which is, I think a lot of us don't do well. And I'm admitting here right now, I didn't at first. But when I look back, it was, how many people have a page like I do? How many people have taken on that many clients? How many people have the experience in hospitality as well as the social media acumen? There's not many. And it was like, you know what? If you don't want me to do it for your hotel, good luck finding somebody who can.
Wow. That is absolutely brilliant, Calvin. And I love what you're talking about. It's really an evolution that we all have to go through for the most part as entrepreneurs. Sure, there appears to be fully formed people that come out there that don't have those things. But for me as well, it was kind of climbing up that stairway with each self-imposed psychological barrier that had to be overcome in order to get to the point where I'm at right now, where I have confidence in myself. And I don't worry or hang on every single person saying yes or no, they want to do business with me. That used to really affect my overall way of interacting with the world and how I felt about myself and whether or not I was successful. Christine, did you have any of these challenges? Because outwardly, it doesn't seem like anything affected.
Hot damn them all, man. Yes, I did. and I love Steve's comment. Urine and shit in the same show, covering lots of ground today. I love that so much, Steve. Thank you. So as far as feeling secure, I love that you brought this up because that is 100%. I never would have even considered it if I didn't have medical insurance and I didn't have money in the bank, if I was on my own. Now, my security was I'm on my husband's insurance, so that was covered. Everything I made, freelancing, if you will, I had put in the bank. I never touched any of that. So I had that to begin my business to go all in on. So I had that security. And then the other thing that really, I think, honestly, was the ultimate catalyst was I said, you know what? When am I going to be in this position right now? That selling book, the exposure that I have with my private group and the industry here, I'm never going to be in this position again. Do it for 6 months, and if it doesn't take off, then you'll get another damn job. I'll just, I know I can get a job in a New York second in a hotel. But then COVID happened. I was like,
I was about to say, I don't know if you get a job in New York second, maybe a resort second.
That's awesome. But so that is what really made me go, you know what, just do it. I know in a moment's notice, I can get another job and produce for somebody. So that is what I said, I've got the savings, I've got the insurance. Let's try this for 6 months to a year, and then boom.
Anthony, I want to ask you a question, Anthony. What about you and confidence issues when you were starting this show? When you started Hotel Impossible, not this show, but Hotel Impossible, did you feel as confident on the inside as you tried to project to the outside?
I want to make sure I answer it honestly. Yeah. I was very nervous that the show wouldn't be successful for things I couldn't control. I was not even a little nervous about my ability to do the show. I was more concerned with production getting in the way, will Travel Channel get in the way, will my director get in the way. But put me in front of a hotel with an owner, there was zero doubt to this day that I can turn around any hotel. So that's, and also then what happens to my career? So say that fails, right? Say for, again, I didn't feel like I would not do a good job. I felt that maybe production wouldn't do a good job and I would have a bucket of crap on my hands. Then what do I do? So after I got past that, it's like, then how do I get a job? I had a friend of mine that I worked with, and he said in all seriousness, he goes, Anthony, when you come back in the hotel business, I'll get you at least a bellman job. He literally said that to me. And so that's what I was more concerned about. And the third thing I was the most concerned about was the hotel business not taking me back, that you guys would laugh at me, that a general manager, president, owner of a hotel would say, well, you just screwed up your career and you made a fool out of yourself. That to me were the three things that I concerned myself with. And then my friend, a very good friend of mine, Mark Summers, sees the show after he passed on the show for a number of reasons. And he said, it's a bucket of crap. The pilot. He literally said those words to me.
Yeah, but you also felt that the original pilot was a little bit of a bucket of.
No, this was after we had it tight. After it was tight and it was ready to air. As a matter of fact, it was aired already, I think. And I told him to watch it. And he said they screwed everything up. Then I got really scared, but I tripled down going, what? And then I started taking control over my destiny because I was giving up a little more than I would have. But yeah, I was petrified. But again, not that I couldn't perform, that I didn't know what I was getting into. It was the scariest moment, one of the scariest moments of my life.
I'm so glad that you were able to share that and admit that, because I think that's what all entrepreneurs go through, no matter what confidence they seem to have. I think we're all like scared on the inside when embarking on new challenges and facing that unknown. Anthony, you were about to ask Christine a question. Do you happen to recall what that was? I don't want you to.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
I would
go for it, Christine.
Remember, I would love to add on to that. I share a story in the book, as a matter of fact, about when I was a front office manager in a Marriott, and I was over the front desk and bellman and concierge and all of the fun, sexy stuff of the hotel, right? I've always been in the front of the house at this point. And then I was propositioned to take a job as assistant general manager, but for a Residence Inn where I would also be over housekeeping. Now, in my mind, I was like, oh, that's not very sexy. I don't know if I want to do housekeeping and all of that. Well, it comes down to it. That scared the hell out of me because I didn't know it like the back of my hand, like I know front of the house. So I always advise people that if you're faced between two decisions and one scares the hell out of you, that's the one that you should choose, because that's the one you're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to get out of your comfort zone. And I can tell you now that housekeeping is my favorite position in the entire hotel, favorite department, and turning and leading and watching that department grow at that hotel was one of the highlights of my career. And Anthony, if you hadn't done what you did, you wouldn't have what you have now. Take the chance.
Yeah, and again, you have to have control over your destiny. And to me, I'm a control freak. And the reason I've always worked for independent hotels and owners, I've always worked for direct owners. My partner now, he's the equity guy, and we're building a hotel company, and I work directly with him. I couldn't work at Marriott. I love everybody that works at Marriott. I just couldn't. I get fired.
Right. That's really who you are as a human being and your tolerance for being in particular situations. That might also be an indicating factor of whether or not you're right to be an entrepreneur.
But also, and I'll throw it to Calvin, maybe you can kind of also answer this, is I always saw myself as Anthony Melchuri Incorporated. Since I'm 7, like I always knew when I walked into a room, it was the Anthony Melchuri brand. Before I knew what a brand was, before I knew what a business was, before I knew what an entrepreneur was. Listen, when we grew up, entrepreneur, we didn't hear that word. That word was not used very often. But I knew when I took my first job, I was like Anthony Melchuri Incorporated. That's how I never felt that anybody had control over me. I never felt that my direct boss had control over me and that he was going to control my brand. That's why I've always had problems with my bosses. I've always confronted my bosses. I've always challenged my bosses. And in my book that's going to come out one of these decades, it's about me challenging my bosses. And most of the time I succeeded. And in the book, there's twice where a couple of years later, I saw the other side of the door and I was like, what happened? Oh, I remember. I told him to go F himself. And 2 years later, after I turned everything around, he said, I don't need you anymore. Okay, I got that. All right. Note to self, make sure when you tell somebody to go F themselves, give yourself at least 2 years, and then they're going to fire you when you turn around their company. So I've always been true to myself. And so, Calvin, have you always seen yourself? Because I'm going to get a little bit like from Christine. I always see that you can kind of probably work the corporate structure and kind of fit in that. I'm getting from Calvin. You were always kind of a little bit of the outsider, and you always kind of pushed back with your boss, and you were always kind of spanked a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's a great point that you made. I didn't realize it until you just said it. But looking back, I think that was a lot of what I did have a lot of static with GMs. I was having a conversation recently, and actually in response to a comment somebody left earlier, I've had great relationships with every salesperson I've ever worked with. GMs, on the other hand, were a big difference, because I've always been the kind of person to push the envelope. I don't think inside the box. And I would realize that now looking back. And a lot of people try to play things safe. And I also have a high expectation for leadership. You know, if you're going to be in that leadership position, you need to do things right. You can't act and do things that would get front office people fired. A GSA would get fired for some of the things I've seen GMs do. You know, you don't get to act like that because you're wearing that title.
I think hold on. I think that is so important. I think what you just said is critical. If you, what I call it, when we shoot a show, and a producer comes in, and then all of a sudden in a day or two, I'm like, that producer's got to go. And what I say is, you're in the show. This is the big leagues. You push a button on Monday night, and we're in front of 80 countries, millions and millions of people. Welcome to the big time. So if you're going to come on my set and you're going to work with us, if you're not ready to lead, if you're not ready to produce, if you're not ready to do your job at the highest level on the planet Earth, you can't play with us. If you can, then you can play with us. If not, get out. And we have a lot of fun, but everyone's got to be bet. So if you're a leader, you're a general manager, and what pisses me off the most is when general managers are playing both sides. It's like, well, I got an owner and I got my team, and I'm going to tell my team what they need to hear. I'm going to tell my owner what he needs to hear. Tell everybody what they should hear and the truth, and you'll be fine. So, Calvin, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
that's fine.
That is accord with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm also have been the kind of person who's like, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it. if you're not going to push this boat, where it should be, I'll do it. And obviously, they didn't gravitate to that. I'll use that. But looking back, I definitely always had more of a entrepreneurial mindset. I mean, I've remember asking people in high school, like guidance counselors, about taking courses in college and doing things in hospitality school, different projects. I did a whole conference. We had to come up with a fake conference, and I was out there like figuring out golf outings, and I really took things like that seriously. I've always kind of thought differently and how to do things differently. So it's interesting that you brought up this situation with not getting along with bosses, because now that I look back, that's probably exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's if you're in a leadership position, just handle it. And like when people I work around, even to this day, is just handle it. Like, I don't want to know your process. Something came up yesterday, and I was like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, you're not getting a gold star, right? That's what you're supposed to do as a leader. Right. That's what you're supposed to do as a manager. There's no gold stars given out anymore once you're in that position. Right. The gold stars go to the team around you. I said yesterday to someone, my greatest talent is I'm always the dumbest person in the room. That's my greatest talent. That if I'm surrounded, and people say that, and they're like, yeah, we understand. No, truly. Like, I want to be the person that has the skill set that needs to acquire more skills to be in that room. Right. I want to be in a room with everyone has the skill set so I can learn something. I'm jotting stuff down in notes today, with people using – this morning somebody used an acronym that they thought I should know. And I'm like, I got to look that up. But I was driving, so I couldn't. So it's really, really, really critical to ensure as an entrepreneur, you're surrounded by really talented people, or you're going to fail. Like when you say, Calvin, you're going to outsource things, right? I don't care if you outsource anything, but I'm calling Calvin. You outsource something, you say, oh, somebody let me down. Calvin, I don't give a shit.
Right.
Like, I couldn't care less. I was up all night.
That's not your problem.
I could care less. I didn't sleep. I don't care. My cat ate it. My dog ate the cat. I don't care. And that's what, as an entrepreneur, you got to understand. You got to be tight.
Yeah. Colleen says she spoke her mind too, but it was different in the 70s, 80s, and especially being a woman. I'm a stubborn German. I like the stubborn quality to Colleen, which is why she's been so successful.
Yeah, Colleen, stubborn German. You just have to say German, okay?
Okay. So, Christine, shoot it over to you. Do you find that you need to be more of anything because you might be female? And Calvin, throwing it to you after that, do you have to find that you have to behave a certain way because you don't fit the typical white guy role, for example? Christine, let's start with you.
Yeah, gosh, this is a loaded question. There's always those moments where you feel that way, or you either fit or you don't or whatnot. But I've really never focused on that. I've never walked in going, I'm not going to get the job because I'm a woman, or I've never felt that way. I just show up every day ready to serve, and for those who like what I'm selling, who's buying what I'm selling, then I'm able to do that for them. But I really don't go through life with that, it's because I'm a woman or whatnot. I remember I had a real estate agent a few years back, and her name was Christine as well, and she goes by Chris so that nobody would judge her and whatnot. And I always found that interesting. And sometimes would think, maybe that's something I should do, but it's not something I should do. I am 100% who I am. And whether I'm that, and more so, I've struggled with my personality when to check it.
Christine, we're all struggling with your personality right now.
I've worried more about that.
Good morning, Glenn.
I remember going from the Hampton Inn to the Marriott, and I remember telling my general manager, if I'm being too Hampton Inn, just let me know.
Right.
So, because my personality, I've worried more about that than be a woman.
So has your boss ever brought you, I'm sorry, Glenn, no,
go ahead.
Has the boss ever brought you in the room and say, listen, I love you, you're great, but literally, please just put it in fifth gear. You don't have to put it in fourth gear, but put it in fifth gear, because the gear you're in, I don't know what gear that is.
Not necessarily in that way, but there's been a lot of learning, growing. When you work the front desk in my early years, and especially if I was working the front desk with someone like me, we both had to be like, okay, we need to figure this out. When you're working with someone with your opposite personality, it's a little bit easier. But I remember being at Ponderosa. This was my very first W-2
Ponderosa.
job. Yes, remember Ponderosa? And
well, there's a lot of people out there that might not know Ponderosa, particularly, Susan. She said she's stubborn Bulgarian. I don't know if they have Ponderosas over there, but it was kind of like a fast food-ish. I guess they would call it fast casual in today's parlance, where you go up, you order your steak, you go to your table, you get your free salad, and then they bring you over the steak, right?
Or a really good cowboy show back in the 70s.
Right.
Yes, that too. I was a steak walker, but I started as a busser. But I remember when I was an order taker and I was so loud and energetic, and the people sitting nearby were like, okay, when you shut that woman up.
I had a boss, a senior master sergeant young in the Air Force, and I will say there's like moments in my life that really changed everything for me, and this is one of those moments where I was very high strung, but I was very good at my job. I've always been like, if I have a job, I've always been very diligent about my job. And we have nuclear weapons. We have the stealth bomber at Whiteman Air Force Base. We have important stuff. I was, at the time, before I became a protocol officer, I was basically in charge of reports. So I would make sure that you got your review, your colonel, whoever would do a review, I would type it up, and I would make sure if there's traffic accidents, I would look for patterns of traffic accidents on base. So I had a job, but it wasn't fixing nuclear weapons or flying stealth bombers. So Senior Master Sergeant Young calls me in his office, and he puts his leg on the desk, and he's a very tall guy, and he's standing there looking at me, and he goes, Anthony, I know you don't believe this, but there are other things going around on the base that you're not in charge of and don't pertain to you. I know it's hard for you to believe that, but it's true. So your boss, Master Sergeant, I won't say her last name, she's had it with you. And between us, yes, you're working harder and you might even be better than her. And one day maybe you'll have her rank. But right now, there's other people and other things I got to deal with, and your name keeps coming up. And I was like, got it. And that was it. Got it. And what was coming up was, if you said you were going to get me a report or you were going to get me something and you didn't get it to me, I was on your neck. Like I was going to your house with you until I got it. And what I realized was, if I'm fixing a nuclear weapon or I have a nuclear issue, that's a little bit more important than getting the little guy a report. And so that really changed me, because I realized I'm not the most important person in the room. I've got to walk in as the least important person in the room, and then make it myself earn the most important person in the room if I'm going to be that guy. So that was a really, really good learning lesson. So Calvin, as an entrepreneur, when was the first time you learned, and you didn't have to be an entrepreneur at the time, it could be in a job or whatever, where you got corrected and you were like, oh, okay, got it?
And we don't mean corrected in the sense of the movie The Shining at all.
That's I'm trying to remember what it was. There was a hotel I was at. My GM pulled me in about something. I think it was because like I was saying earlier, I push the envelope a lot. Like when I see something that needs to be done, it's just like we've got to do it. And it was actually, now I remember, it was an employee that wasn't quite up to scratch, and it was really frustrating me because it was slowing me down. Right, it was slowing my department down. And he kind of pulled me aside and he said, "Listen, you've got to fix that while keeping the ball rolling, because me pushing her like that, she was getting frustrated, and then her work was suffering." So it was like, you need to be able to do both at the same time. Let's manage her behavior, but let's not derail her to the point where she was worse than she was before. She's not going to get better that way. And I really, it was eye-opening for me.
And if you could answer, Glenn asked a question to Christine about being a woman, and then he asked you. Yeah. So you want to answer that question? Sure.
I mean, as far as my business, it doesn't cross my mind at all. When I was at work, it's not at the forefront. I'd never wanted to be perceived. I didn't walk into a room, thinking that, okay, you've got to recognize me as a black man first. I want to be recognized for my work. And I spend a lot of meetings with owners and, budget meetings and stuff like that, where I'm the only Black person in the room. I'm aware of it. I'm sure other people are aware of it, but I didn't walk into the room with that. The way I've always tried to approach that issue is I want you to see me, respect me for my work, and then maybe I've changed your mind about stereotypes. If you walked in with stereotypes, maybe after meeting me, you'll leave and say, you know what? Maybe those stereotypes are wrong. Maybe those preconceived notions were incorrect. But I don't feel that it's held me back in any way at work. And I've actually never really dealt with issues.
Wow.
When I was coming up in this business, I always say, if you're a healthy white guy, you're pretty good in this country, right?
Yep.
But I remember being a young manager, and I wasn't from Europe, and I didn't have an accent, and I had a Brooklyn
question if you didn't bring it up.
Yeah, and I had a Brooklyn attitude with a Brooklyn accent, and I was prejudiced against from that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really ever thought about that. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I don't know what it's like to be a minority. And to be honest with you, in my surroundings where I grew up, we were all one, because I grew up, in the minority community. I grew up around women. So it never crossed my mind that you had maybe a harder gig than I did because of the color of your skin or because you're a woman. And then I got hit with, I remember, I won't name his name because I know he watches the show from time to time. But I asked him, I said, hey, we worked together. We were both talented. Thought I was a little bit more talented, but that's another story.
That's the reason why he's not mentioning the guy's name.
And he became a manager of a 5-star hotel. And I remember walking in his office. I hadn't worked for him in about a year. And I said, hey, you think I can, got a gig for me? You think I can, work here? And he literally looked me in the eye and he said, you're too Brooklyn.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know what I did?
What?
I got a TV show.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
So
there you go.
But did that motivate you to go in that direction, or are you going that anyway?
Dude, motivate me. That, and when I walked into the Regency Hotel on Park Avenue, and the general manager was looking for a front office manager, and I walked in there, and he was in the middle of the lobby. And I said, I'm looking for the general manager's office because I am the general manager. I said, oh, I'd like to apply for the, here's my resume. I'm looking for the front office manager job for an interview, whatever. He looked at me like I was a smelly piece of dog poop and so highfalutin. I guess he didn't like my accent. And he said, I'm sorry. We'll get back to you. He never got back to me.
Of course.
Those two incidents was beyond fuel. I'm that guy. I am 100%. I wish I was more mature than that. I am that guy. If Michael Jordan came to me and say, you're not getting a point off me, Michael Jordan's going to have a long day. I'm getting a point off of Michael Jordan. That's just the way I am. So yeah, when he did that, I might be successful because of that reason. I may have had the career I've had because of that reason, because I was desperate. I mean, I talk about it in my book where I told the headhunter for my first GM job, I would give him his commission if I didn't get the job because he didn't want me to put me up for it. And I said, I had to sign a letter saying I was going to give him a commission if I didn't get the job. And he put me up for it and I got the job. But yeah, that highly, highly motivated me.
Well, I'll tell you something, Anthony. The show Hotel Impossible could not have been done with a frou-frou-y type of European accent, 5-star type of guy. That Brooklyn allowed you to have your real personality come out that played so well on TV because it's tough, it was street, and it was, I'm not taking any bullshit from anybody.
Yeah, but it was also backed up by articulating a plan and knowledge. And that's what I think, because that old kind of Brooklyn street guy gets old. That's a mafia movie. Every time I open my mouth, I open my mouth for a reason. And if I'm pissed off at you, it's because I think you can do better. It's when I walked away from you or I was quiet and I didn't care, that's when it's like, you're not worthy of my time because you're not going to change. So anytime I got in somebody's face or anytime I got very, very direct or the Brooklyn came out, is because I cared that you have the ability to do what you think you could be doing. When people I knew I couldn't win, there was 4 times when it happened, I just walked away and my producers and everybody got mad at me. But I was like, I'm not going to fight somebody that doesn't care. I care. I'm raising my voice and I'm getting upset and they're not. And it's hotel. So I don't care. So I'm sorry, Christine, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I was raising my hand and agreeing with you. And yes, back to the personality thing. That's what's happened to me many times throughout my career, is that people will underestimate me because I'm this happy, energetic, fun person, and I always get underestimated. And in my mind, I'm like, go ahead and underestimate me because it's about to happen. And for Steve, who's taking count, we now have Pooh.
There's some bullshit in there too.
No, we're working hard to work through all of George Carlin's 7 dirty words on this.
Listen, I think what's really important is when someone gives you a job, when an owner gave me a job as a general manager, or Travel Channel said, yes, you can do your show, I can't tell you how serious I take that. You know, other people's money, when people spend money, like produce a show, or people spend money on buying a hotel, like, and they're saying, okay, Anthony, here's our money, go do what you got to do. I don't think about me. I think about their money. I think about what they did to earn that money, what they did to earn that position, how the person that greenlit my show, how they're putting their reputation on the line for me. So I'm not going to let a producer or anyone on that set jeopardize that person's career. So I'll take care of myself. I'm always going to take care of myself. But I gave my word to, whether it be Brian Leonard from the Travel Channel, or whether it be, you know, Bruce David Klein from the production company, or whether it be to myself. I'm not here to play games. If I want to play games, I'll go play poker. I'm here to back up what they gave us, right? And that to me is really, really important. When Calvin, you go sell a contract and somebody lets you down that works with you, they're not letting you down, they're letting the client down. So I've always taken that seriously about the guest or the employees in my hotel, that when that person pays $200 a night and we let them down because their toilet doesn't work, I take that personally.
Anthony, you're a hotelier. When Hotel Impossible started, you weren't a TV personality. How did you have the cojones, bringing in a new fancy word over here, to follow your instincts, to go up against the machine of the show, to make sure that your opinion was not only heard, but followed?
Good question. I asked Mark Summers, I said, hey, we got the show concept, we got the format, we got everything, but I don't know how to act. I want to know how to act. So on a set, because I've never been on a set outside of my movie that I had produced, but I wasn't really running the movie. So anyway, I went to his set and Robert Irvine was there, and Robert Irvine was just himself. And Mark Summers was a really good producer, but he made sure that Robert had the ability to just walk in the room and react. He didn't try to put too much stress on Robert and just let Robert be Robert. So when you see Restaurant Impossible, it's a good job between the producer and Robert of being able to really do what he does. So I learned just very quickly in a day how Robert and the producer work together. And to this day, Robert's not my biggest fan because he thinks I stole his whole format and concept because I was on the set for half a day. But it's not true, because I had Hotel Impossible's URL up 5 years before they thought of the show. But I have tremendous respect for Robert Irvine. I have tremendous respect for Mark Summers. And so once I saw that Robert has to be left alone and the producer is protecting him from being left alone, I knew that I had to protect that. I had to protect that if a producer tried to put me in a position that made me uncomfortable, I had to say no to that. That was a hard no, always and forever. And so I learned that at that moment. So I probably would have done it anyway, but that gave me the license to know, the Restaurant Impossible is a real show. Robert's speaking the way Robert speaks. I mean, you meet Robert on the street, that's who Robert is. So by seeing that really helped me kind of the license to get out of my way, hold my beer, here I go.
Right. Wow. That's a fascinating insight. Just when you think we know each other so much, it's great to learn more.
Well, I never told that story before because I don't want Robert to ever think I don't like him and him to crush me.
Well, yeah, he does. He's a big guy. All right. So this might already be going down in history as the fastest hour in No Vacancy Live history. I can't believe we're already way over an hour. So I'm going to have no choice but to start winding this down a little bit. Christine, let's start with you. Final thoughts. advice, anything else that you want to say, and then feel free to follow it up with a good shameless plug for what you're up to.
Perfect. Well, I want to leave everybody with something, again, another actionable piece. If you're going to tune in, I want to give you something you can take away. And one thing that helped me throughout my whole career and helped me help others is the 4 power questions. Every time, whether you're just trying something or just finished a shift, whatever it might be, the 4 power questions can help you. What's going right? Then 2 is what's not going right. 3, what am I learning? And 4, what am I going to do different? If you can come away, try something and then keep asking yourself those 4 power questions. What's going right? What's not? What am I learning? What am I going to do different?
You know what I love about you, not to interrupt you, what I love about you is because I'm always like, if you want to learn what I do and how I do it, just watch me, right? Because I'm not a big teacher. I don't really kind of do it that way. I just be like, okay, what's a power question? Pull your head out of your ass.
That was, hey, Steven, we got no ass.
But no, because getting back to Calvin, it's like he just had that moment of, he didn't ask himself the 4 questions. He just said, Calvin, pull your head out of your ass. Yeah. But I love that. I love those actionable items, Christine.
Yes.
I love them. I love them.
And it really does help you to stop and take a moment and a breath to go, okay, what, because we all can sit there and bitch, oh, okay, we got bitch now. I don't have enough staff, or, oh, I'm blaming unemployment because of it. Okay, what's going right? I've got staff right now. What's not going right? We're in a big crisis. What am I learning? Sitting around bitching about it's not going to help me. What am I doing different today?
and my other saying for that part of the conversation is no one gives a shit. Right? Yeah. No one cares about your problems, Christine. No one cares about Glenn's problems. Nobody cares that Calvin got up at 10 o'clock. Nobody cares.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Get it done. Yeah. So anyways, that has helped me a lot. So that's a tip for you. The book is Yes is the Answer. You can get it on Amazon. The Wise Pineapple is my website. I would love to inspire and energize your team. And I'm Christine Trippi. Calvin, take it away.
I love it.
That was beautiful. I love that. I will share a quick thing that we touched on earlier. My keywords were yes and. I've done some improv in my past, and that really, I think that's helped me a lot in this. I had a problem with wanting to know what the final outcome was going to look like before even starting, and that's just fear talking, and it's going to keep you restricted. You're not going to do anything because you want to figure out, what's this going to look like? And I can tell you, through improv and obviously through doing a business, nothing looks like the way you think going in. If I thought, when I started making memes, I've had a page with over 18,000 people and be on a show like this because of that, I would have laughed at you. There's no way I could have envisioned that. I started out, again, the business really just doing social media for a couple of companies, and that's where I figured it would go. Now I've got a podcast. I'm doing ad revenue. I'm doing, travel. I'm doing all kinds of different things now, and there's no way I would have figured all of that out. So just get started, start moving, and the story will start to take shape. So I will, plug, obviously, if you guys follow me on Ref Problems and you're into hotel memes, check me out there. I am wearing a t-shirt on purpose. It's called Ally Up. This is my podcast. These are me and my 2 co-hosts here. This shirt was, podcast? Yes, Midlife Crisis Podcast. This shirt was designed by an Asian artist. We are selling these shirts to help stop Asian hate. Oh, cool. And all kinds of hate now. So I will make an additional donation in light of recent events. For every shirt sold, we're making a donation to charity to help stop what's going on here. So head over to my website. Is that a punch or a thumbs up?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, so just head over to refproblems.com. You can get anything on the shop. And of course, RevPar Media, if you guys are looking to tell a story on social.
Also, Calvin, you're one of the thousands and thousands of people fleeing New York after all of this. Most people go to Florida, but you're going to California.
I'm going to California. Going to California. Yeah, they are. I'm flying out tomorrow.
Why are you going to the wrong coast? Why are you going to the wrong coast?
Because it's warm. It's warm.
Well, Florida's on this coast.
Yeah, but Florida doesn't think COVID ever existed, so I'm a little scared.
Well, Florida, it doesn't exist in
Just
Florida.
kidding.
It doesn't
It
exist.
Also,
doesn't.
the humidity doesn't work well with Calvin's hair.
Listen, I want to make a statement because I've been making fun of Florida from the beginning about it not caring about COVID. I've been down to Florida probably 4 times in the last month for different reasons, and people are wearing masks. People walk in a restaurant with their mask on. People walk in a hotel with their mask on. People go through the airport with their mask on. The one thing people don't do is they don't walk down the street with their mask on, which is okay as long as you stay away from it. So there's this image of Florida being like COVID doesn't exist. I get that because of the news media, and I played into it as well. But when I'm down there, I mean, most people are doing the right thing. That's just my opinion.
All right,
Yeah.
so I think you're right, but let's end this appearance by both of them on a little bit of a high note. Let's do a couple more of these jokes over here.
When employee quits and says, "Good luck finding someone else like me," and then there's a bunch of people that look exactly alike.
So clever.
And then it says there's a boxer or a Muay Thai fighter punching and kicking somebody in the stomach, and it says, "Guess be threatening us like," and then all of a sudden the Muay Thai fighter is beating people up, and then the person just standing there like, keep coming, keep coming, keep going. And that's a really good point because like that guy's not taking it personal that he's getting punched in the stomach. He's just like,
Right.
and as a good desk clerk, as a guest agent or any hotel employee, it's like just sit there and in your mind go, what do you got? You're not going to upset me. I'm going to make you happy whether you like it or not. And then there's another one that says,
Very topical.
go ahead. Go ahead. Explain that one, Glenn.
So, as we all know, in the Suez Canal, the boat got pushed to the side, and it blocked it up.
Oh.
So the boat is broken key machine, and then all the other ships behind it that are stuck aligned at the front desk. Pretty fun.
Yeah, and it's really, really good. And one of the things I want to kind of back up, you guys all had your own words or whatever. My word is done. And it's part of my marketing plan. It's done. And what does done mean? If I say to you, if Glenn says to me, "Hey, Anthony, can you do this, that, and the other thing?" If I say, "Well, I'll get back to you, whatever, I'm not sure," that makes sense. But if I say done, that's it. It's over. And that's as an entrepreneur. The person that asked me the question, when I say done, they don't care. Now I got to go depend on 26 people. Okay. I recently had a conversation with somebody. I shook their hand and I said, "Done." And like, "Done? You've been here 4 minutes. Done? Done." And then I went and I just terrorized everyone, and it's getting done. And so to me, that is a very powerful word because it puts the onus on me. Like it scares me. When I say done, it scares me because I know I got to go perform because I just told this person to go to sleep. Don't worry about anything. And so I think what's your word, Glenn? It's like the bagel and the nap. What's your word?
When I'm like ready
No,
to
as an entrepreneur, like what's the word that gets you to be like, this is happening? Is there a word or a phrase or
I don't think I have a word or a phrase anymore. I think I'm just at the point where I know something needs to happen and I go and do it. I don't let stuff stop me any longer. So I just go and I do and I make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, I move on to something else, Yeah,
that's a good point. All right. Well, it was great. There's an hour and 12 minutes, and I really feel like we can talk for another hour.
We could. We totally could.
Why don't we? Let me see if I have the point. Why don't we?
I really want to discuss the hiring crisis. So
come on. We don't have 3 hours. We don't have 3 hours.
Another show. I want to discuss hiring crisis with you boys.
All right.
Okay, so we'll bring you back.
Yeah, let's bring you both back another time. Calvin, you got to move to California and disappoint us by going to the other.
And you know what? And you know what, Coaching, we'll bring you back. But I'm going to say it is a hiring crisis. It's a leadership crisis. That's what it is. It's a leadership crisis because if you really empowered your people and you had a really good environment, people would run back to you. Not saying all the time. I'm not saying even 50%. I'm not even saying maybe 10%. But there is a percentage of people that lost employees because they sucked at their job, meaning their leader. And people don't want to go back to them. I know a lot of people that couldn't wait to get back to Marriott. They didn't go to other places because they loved the environment in Marriott. Okay. But I know other people that didn't want to go back to their brand because they didn't have the same feeling about their brand. So I think yes, of course it's a hiring crisis. Of course, there's people that want to get a check and, the unemployment check and sit at home. And there's people that left the industry and all that. And I'm not going to discount that. But I also want to hold the feet to the fire of culture in a business.
Yeah, I've got lots to say on that.
All right.
Let's not open the Pandora's box of employment issues over here. We'll say that for another time. Christine, Calvin, thank you for such a highly energetic, fun, and most important, informative show. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That was great. That was really, really great.
Listen, the truth be told, Calvin, me, and you didn't have to be there. Just Christine and Mike. The show would have made itself. The show would have made itself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Get the book, The Adapters, Sean Worker, me, Glenn Hausman, theadapters.net, amazon.com. Please do that. We'd really appreciate it. Check out all the great content we have on theadapters.net as well. Anthony, what a great week this has been. I mean, really, what an exceptional week between today's show and Paul Leone, the GM over at the Breakers. I got to speak with Mike Midzigian over at Watermark. Just unbelievable. In fact, it's been such a great week. I've already forgotten who our guest was on Monday because we just been.
I'm going to the Breakers. I can't wait.
Yeah, man. Good for you. I love it. Now, as we close out the show, you know what I say every single day, and I think it is more important and on point than ever in regards to today's topic. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you all next week. And don't forget Friday Night Audit tomorrow at 5 p.m. Laughs, drinks. Woo! It'll be a